Hello, friends. We're back. Ready to go on our odyssey and face some creature of the deep, dark, horrible reef. Um, yeah, our characters. Who are we again? Why don't we just do a real quick introduction? I'm playing Pari the Undying. She's an old timer. How about you,
I
Troy?
am.
Or Ash? Go.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot we had an order. I'm Vita of the Liberty. I am a pirate captain and revolutionary.
I am Arash, monster hunter, and at least twice dead. I am an assassin and water walker. We'll go with that.
Every time you say Monster Hunter, I'm like, I like flash towards like Monster Hunter World. I'm like, yes.
It may look like that very soon, actually. But
Great.
before we get to the big Odyssey conflict, there's a lot of boring time when you're at sea. And we'll kind of just montage over it. But when you are all sort of making the voyage and need to just kill time, we get just a little snapshot of sort of what you do on the long endless days on the water. What is Pari doing to sort of pass the first few calm days?
All right. You what you said was there's a lot of boring time, but at first I thought you said there's a lot of oaring time, and I was like, yeah, I guess I can. Sure, if the winds are bad, I guess we might be oaring, but boring makes more sense. I think Pari is drinking. Pari drinks with the like in the downtimes, right, when we're not supposed to be on shift, but Pari drinks and gambles with the crew. She likes to see if somebody like at this point the crew is like she doesn't have anything to prove anymore. A lot of times she has to sort of like people won't think she can hold her own and whatnot, but she now she just likes to drink and tell stories to the crew. And so I think we cut into like a little scene of her talking about when I don't know why I cannot seem to pronounce this. What is the dominant culture right now?
Kyrian.
It's not a hard word, but for some reason I keep wanting to pronounce it otherwise. And she talks about a Kyrian man who was her lover, and then she scorned him because he couldn't keep up with her, and now he hunts her to this day. And she's alluding to her rival, but she never mentions him by name because in her stories, like he shows up in like 100, like 50 years worth of stories. So like all of and she never says them by name. So it's like it could be the same person, it could be different people, but yeah, she's talking about this scorned lover.
Love it. And if we cut over to Vita, how is she sort of passing the time between action?
Yeah, she's she's alternately like pacing like restlessly up and down the ship looking for anything that anyone's done wrong. That's not stowed properly. That's not tied. Get those sails up, all those sorts of things. And then if she's not doing that, she's like probably playing cards, right? And or gambling in some way and just being like, come on, let's go. Let's take some risks. There's got to be some risk taking happening, or she's preparing for the bigger risk that's to come.
Mm-hmm. I love that idea. The sort of intercut shots of like being very almost uptight of like, nope, do that right, don't do that, and then you just going wild gambling.
Yeah.
It's
all in.
Yeah, she's building up her own tension, and then and then gambling to relieve some of it, and then building it up again.
Ash, what do you think Pari and Vita's relationship is regarding like risk versus reward? Because I think Pari is like playing the long game, the really long game, and she doesn't want to dive in necessarily. Do you think they butt heads, or do you think that it's what do you think that looks like between the two of them? Because I think their personality.
I don't think that like I don't think that there's like heaps of tension there, because like like most of the time the risk is kind of like we've like in this situation, we all know what the risk is. We're all kind of like bought in.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem comes up when we're in the middle of something, and then Vita is like, nope, like do this now. Like we're doing the unexpected,
Right.
and that is when the kind of like when Vita does her let's come out of left field so they won't expect this, and you'll and like Pari might be like, that's a stupid idea, and I'm like, yes, but they'll never expect it.
Right.
Right.
Nice.
Like,
awesome. So in these moments, there's not cool. Awesome. I dig it.
yeah. I mean, I feel like Pari might be one of the people that I'm gambling with, right? And Pari's just like Pari's just taking my money because she's like, well, you know, making the smart choices, and whereas Vita has to like play hard.
Right.
And you're like, oh, Vita's betting lots. She has nothing, right? Like,
right,
just
exactly.
She's
going all in. All right, cool. Call her.
Yeah, like if she's playing conservatively, you know that she's like actually got something valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as she's being like really, really risky, you're like, oh no, she's got nothing.
I dig it. I'm sure we're gonna have a flashback to one of these scenes that's gonna help that we're gonna use later on when we're doing risky.
So then if the camera sort of pans over to Arash and how you're spending the time leading up to the excitement, what is he doing?
I think a lot of the Arash shots are actually at night. Arash is kind of a bit more of the lone wolf, but what I mean by that is I always take like the night shift in the crow's nest, for example. And you know, it's got that supernatural like capacity to like shimmy up the masts, and when the stars come out, he'll often sing to them. It's like a cultural note thing. But I think that for the most part we see like Arash is quiet and like to the side, but there's at least one shot of somebody decides to ask for a particular story, and everybody takes like a small measure of their grog and fills up like an extra mug or two. And then Arash does a cool storytelling in the sort of like in the mess where everybody's sitting around, and he uses the light and his shadow to create like a battle with a monster on the wall. And he tells a story of something that he hunted. And so, and his reward for regaling everyone with a story of yet another fantastic monster is a couple of mugs of spare grog that, you know, are not out of his share.
I love it.
Nice.
I think we almost get this hard cut of you enjoying your grog to it's, I would say, early morning, and maybe you haven't quite gotten to bed yet and the others are starting to come to the deck. It's sort of that changeover period. And as the boat is cutting across the water, you see a giant bright red tentacle just shoot up from the water. And you got a 10. So you get sort of the first strike at this monster. Right now, you just see this one big tentacle come up, and you notice that it's spiked, and it seems to be attached to some sort of like webby, fleshy creature that's still partially under the water. What does Arash do?
I think he, well, first off, do I know what kind of monster this is?
Would you like to use your monster
I would like
hunter?
to use my Monster Hunter knowledge superpower.
Yes.
My real question is, what is it, and like, what do I need to aim for in order to actually injure it? Right?
How do you kill it?
Yeah, how do you kill it?
Yeah, where is it vulnerable? So it's called a bloody maw. You know, it's a giant squid that you may know very well because it has a lot of odd chemistry sort of effects and tricks. So you might feel some kinship for that. So you know that it tends to dazzle people with lights, and that what it likes to do is when it attacks, it's actually inside out. So its hard, spiky armor is facing. So you know that on the inside is where all the fleshy, vulnerable parts are.
Do I have to get eaten in order to get to the fleshy, vulnerable parts?
That's one strategy. Like,
Awesome. That's what's happening. I think there's like a moment where I'm yelling orders to the boat in general. Like I'm yelling to like the crew, like, you know, look out to the left, you know, somebody load shot, you know, cut the right mainsail, whatever. I did I mention I know nothing about boats? Anyway.
It's all good.
And there's a moment where I'm running along the deck, and one of the things that Arash has is like a necklace with a small knife-looking thing, and he pulls it out and he strikes at one of the tattoos that is like coming out underneath like whatever shirt he has, etc. And when he pricks it, the black inside the tattoo, it's almost like as if the ink like spreads across his limbs, and he grabs like one of the massive harpoons from the harpoon gun that we have, and I dive for the water, and I start running not on the surface of the water, but underneath the water, using the surface as like a ceiling.
Amazing.
Nice.
I think I like emerge from like from below deck and see this and just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and you know, when Arash calls it out, Pari is like already. I mean, maybe this is the first time it's happened. Maybe it's happened many times, but Pari is. If you haven't come out yet, do you have? I don't know. I think maybe she holds the wheel until you do. I think, you know, she's the first mate, as it were, and so you can certainly dismiss her at any time. But she is pointing the ship right in like a strafing motion, so that not only can our guns fire on it, but so that it's going to be distracted as Arash comes up. You know, so she kind of veers a little off course, so that she's going to strafe across it, and is setting up a distraction to get Arash a clean shot.
Mm-hmm. So Arash, I think with sort of your unexpected techniques and your fast response, you'll get a +1 on sort of your first action against it. So as you're running under the water, what do you do next? How do you go for its vulnerable insides?
Oh, sure.
What is a solid way to get on the inside of this monster? Is there like a giant maw that is like, how does it breathe underwater? I'm assuming like a mouth, right? Because like most fish, they inhale water and then like exhale through the gills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where's its inhale port, so to speak?
It's called the bloody maw. I mean, it's got to have a big one, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm expecting.
Sort of folded up inside, so you could maybe sort of aim for that stream to just get sucked towards.
Awesome. Can I do that stealthily with prowl, or should I just make a resist to not get chewed on as I'm going in? Like, what's a good entry point this way?
Well, is it sort of this stealthy, tricky way you're going in, or are you doing some loud, chargy, screamy intimidation?
Nope. Fighting monsters is about killing monsters. It's not about necessarily being flashy. If the monster doesn't have good ears for, okay, I'm lying. It is super flashy. Ash, you called me on my bullshit. I accept. But I don't think I'm yelling, right? Like, because this is underwater, like, and this is actually my job, so like this is almost like my religious duty, right? So
yeah,
I think
yeah. I was just gonna say, if anything, I would love to do a setup action, which is to, as we go by it, presumably it's going to open its maw to try and bite us or whatnot, and that gives not only the distraction but also the opening for Arash to slip in there. I don't know if that's what you're thinking of, Josh, or if that works, but
yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. Like when I was yelling for people to do stuff, it wasn't about giving orders. It was more about setting up something so that I could try and pull this off. I'll definitely take it, Sean. It's probably something we've done in the past, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I think the action, I'm changing my dots around because I'm cheating. Because I realized like I didn't pick the right ones. I think the action that I'm trying to do is sway. I'm trying to trick this thing. It's not about like, we're not gunning for it, but we're trying to distract it enough that it thinks we're a threat, so that Arash could get in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to sway this thing into opening its maw so that Arash can dive in.
So how ship actions work is you'll do your normal action that you want, but the ship traits will set the maximum modifier you can have. So you can
Okay.
never be more skilled than your ship.
Okay.
So it sounds like this
This
kind
is
of
for me. This is firepower. Like we're gonna strafe the thing and piss it off. We know it's got an armored shell. We're not gonna hurt it, but I'm trying to like piss it off enough that it opens up.
yeah, firepower. A threatening statement is under firepower, so that sounds exactly like what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right.
But I still roll my action, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you can push yourself to get. Remind me of the.
You can push yourself to get advantage.
Push yourself to the advantage. Yeah, why not?
That sounds pretty rad.
I'm going for it. And where is stress? Play with resolve, insight. Where is stress on this cool sheet?
Just under narrative details, it's like the first thing there. So you'll see stress 0 out of 9 right now.
Ah, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna spend 2. Roll advantage. 1. Bump. All right, I got a 9.
Oh, right. So on a 9, you actually get to pick what happens with shipboard. So there's 2 things that can happen. One, there's just a normal narrative consequence, and I'm going to pick what that is. The other is that there's fallout on your ship. And so basically you start a progress clock that starts ticking up until you take care of the damage to your ship.
That seems fitting. I mean, I figure it's going to attack us when we attack it. That makes sense. We're trading some blows here.
Yeah. So let me just pull up.
What out of curiosity, what's the effect of being in control of the engagement roll?
So the Arash basically got to make the first move, and you all got to sort of do your setup before it could take back.
Got it. Right. Like we got to have the initiative on it.
Yes. So gonna start one of my really fancy, really well drawn progress clocks here.
Nice. Gonna hide all these windows that I have up right now so everyone can see the progress clock.
That I cannot draw at all. Usually I have like set ones, but all right, I'll fill in a little section. And so now that we've entered ship combat, basically, after each of you have taken an action, the fallout will increase by a segment.
Okay.
And people can take actions to try and basically work with the crew to control it. But if you don't, it'll just keep ticking up. And then when it fills, there's sort of a big fallout action that will happen to your ship.
Okay.
All right. So but you succeeded. So I think we see you threatening it. And I think it definitely, that big sort of tentacle that was up comes and sort of swipes, almost like swatting towards the ship.
Nice.
And maybe sort of rocks it a little bit.
I think just as like the water splashes the ship and like we're getting rocked, I'm like, oh, Captain, there you go. Here's your wheel.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I don't know. Maybe Party
Great.
isn't so.
Thank you.
Maybe Party isn't so joking about it, but she's like, yo, you came just in time. And like holds the wheel just in time for you to take it.
Yeah, and I take it, and I'm like, so yeah, so we've fired though, haven't we? Our first volley.
I think so. I mean, it could also just be that we're strafing past it, getting his attention.
I like the strafing because then I would like to like
be the actual one to fire the guns. Yeah, that's cool. No, I think Mari is like all about
I
guns.
can dig it.
She's just about getting its attention. But importantly, Cass, does it open its big mouth? That's what I care about. Okay.
I think that we see it swipe and it opens its mouth and you can see it sort of angling because it wants to swallow up your little ship.
It's gonna swallow something.
Yeah. I'm totally gonna take the opportunity that my crew provided to try and slip in. I sort of like kick off the ceiling of the water and like tuck myself around that spear and let the flow of the water carry me in, and shut my eyes actually to avoid any of its blinding light attacks or whatever it does.
Mm-hmm. Let's see how well that goes for you.
Yeah, I turned to Pari and I'm like, did he just jump in the water? He just jumped in the fucking water, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
God damn it.
He jumped in the water.
Again.
Again.
Do I get advantage from the setup?
You do. So you get +1 from the setup, and then the +1 from having sort of the controlled-ish position.
The key question is, am I rolling advantage or am I just rolling straight?
It's going to be, so those are just a +2 modifier.
Okay. So I have a +1 in prowl normally. Would that be a +4 total then, or +3 total?
+3, yeah.
+3. All right, let's do it.
Get in there.
Boom.
Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you just like, I think maybe we see you almost.
Oh, no. I cheated. Hang on. That's a 10 plus. I accidentally clicked advantage. It's the first, just use the first tier if that's okay. A 6 and a 1.
So 10, still same.
Still 10. Yeah. Still
a heroic success.
Just nailed it though. Just got the 10. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think we see those effects of like bright flashing lights and the water swirling around, and you just disappear into its mouth. And maybe there's a little slurpy sound as you like slide in.
Yeah, I'm in. If you want to follow the action there, that's fine. If other people want to shoot cannons and stuff, that's fine. But my next action is going to be chopping it up, yay fierce on the insides.
I turn to the crew and go, and now he's been eaten. Does anyone else want to be eaten by the giant sea monster? No? Let's fire the fucking cannons.
I think you actually see your chef like start to raise their hand a little bit, and then like get louder.
Like, no getting eaten. Cool, awesome. I would like to order the crew to fire a volley of everything we have at the giant sea monster.
Excellent. That sounds like you're trying to wreck that sea monster pretty bad.
That's the intention. Cool. So I have regrettably only 1 dot in reg. Just because I couldn't put more in.
I feel ya.
But I think yeah, I don't know that I've got I don't know that I can angle for much more than that at the moment. I'm happy to rock it. Let's
go wrong.
Let's shoot cannons at big sea monster.
But this
with
is
Fred inside.
Just out of curiosity, that the core resolution mechanic of actions, at least not of resistance, but the core resolution mechanic of actions is essentially PBTA, right? Like, because I'm thinking all the ways.
7 to 9.
Well, I'm thinking about like, how does help work? Can we spend stress on, like all
that's
all
true.
So it's there isn't, I assume, an assist mechanic, like spend a stress and give somebody a bonus or anything like that. Is there?
I mean, there is that there is teamwork or use an advantage.
Right. And the setup action that I did earlier to help Arash get in, that was like Pari's action. So I can't just be like, cool, I'm gonna spend some stress to help you with this. That is a Blades thing, not Tides. Cool. Okay, cool. Just checking to see what option.
I would I'm just wondering if I want to, with swashbuckling, to take 2 shipboard actions in a round. Can I do the first one and then push myself if I like, depending on the outcome?
So that would be firing twice.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
I would say too, if you're trying to aim, so the way that fictional positioning works is in the edges and penalties. So if you want to look at those, if you are taking tactical advantage or clever strategy, using surprise or overwhelming power, or the one that basically Sean just used is finisher, so building on a teammate's previous actions, those can get you modifier bonuses.
Right. Yep. I mean, I'm hoping that does all of the cannons count as overwhelming power? Because that's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, I think that would give you overwhelming power.
I have an idea. The cannons have to be on like one side of the ship or the other, and so
Or we could turn them around.
Yes, but I mean that's speed wise, that's not practical. But if you're a real ace captain at the wheel, you essentially do a really, really dangerous move where you fire all the cannons and then you effectively hit the parking brake into the wind and flip the boat around and then fire the other set of cannons right after, which is ridiculous. But it can be done under sail. I mean,
you can drop an anchor.
Yeah, you can.
Well, I'm wondering if like is this thing big enough to create its own like vortex?
The squid.
Yeah, the big monster.
Yeah, it's
cool, awesome. So I can use I can fire one set and then use the vortex to spin the ship around and fire the second.
Mm-hmm. I will say I think that totally works and you get the modifier, but that sounds a little bit like you're finessing more than you're just wrecking because you're doing this tricky like twist and turn.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm just going to steer. I'm just going to like steer the ship so that we are like the ship is up against the tentacle, and then fire all of the cannons at point blank range.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That's my wreck.
That's your wreck.
That's my shock and awe wreck. It's like hello.
And just
bonk.
To add one more thing, we are a ghost ship. We take tough pursuit of loose pursuers, and for the first round of a surprise attack. Is this a surprise attack? Because we came in. I guess not.
No, we didn't surprise them.
It spotted us before we.
Yeah, we had some.
It. Although I will be surprise attacking from the inside in a hot second.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
I'm going to shock and awe by using a ship as a point blank blunderbuss.
I like it.
Yep. And so everyone's like, "Can we fire?" I'm like, "No." Now? No. Now? Yes. Bang. All right. So that's a +1 on my rec roll.
Correct. So on top of whatever your rec is.
So I get bonus of 2. Wait, did I press the advantage button? I did. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter because there's the first 2 anyway.
It didn't.
Yeah. So
it's just because it's
so again, I'll sort of describe what's starting to happen, and then you or anyone involved can decide if they want to try and resist it to sort of reduce. I think what happens is you full on are starting to shred through this squid with all of this cannon fire, and Arash is inside that squid, and it's just getting huge balls of hot iron shooting through and right towards your friend.
I will.
I thought it was like super heavily armored.
It was. Unfortunately, your captain got really into the wrecking.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to resist this, and my theory of the resistance is that like everyone, because these are like light the fuse, light the cannon, right? Like each one of these has to be manually fired, and so I think there's like somebody every single one of them. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say that. Particularly with Arash, particularly when Arash is fighting monsters, that my shattered soul, like it warns me when I'm in danger, and I think that extends to Arash in this case. And I go to the one person that's like going to fire the cannon that's going to. No one's like, hold on just a second. I know the captain said fire, but hold on just a second. And it's like, and you're yelling fire, 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 and like just like get in the way. And then like a moment later, when the squid shifts, I say, okay, go for it.
Nice.
So that it's not.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. So that Arash is not getting hit by a cannonball. So is that a resolve resist? What's the kind of resistance?
That sounds kind of like a resolve.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna roll myself 2d6. Oof. Worst case scenario, it's 5 stress, friends.
Ouch.
Snake eyes. All right.
Yeah.
That's really rare.
Hey, yeah, I know, but hey, that's how I roll. I like to start scores with 7 stress. That's how
We've done this. We have done this, sir.
We've
Just
done
you and me.
Just 2 people at a score.
Yep.
Stress nearly maxed out to begin with.
So I think what happens is you manage to reduce it by Arash does not get hit by the cannonballs, but because it slows it a little bit, an extra fallout segment for the round is going to fill up.
Sure.
All right, Arash, I think we cut to you inside literally the belly of the beast. What do you do?
I think that since I have the knowledge of what this thing is and like what its weaknesses are, and part of the deal was like, oh, if I can get inside, that it's gonna be vulnerable. Yeah, I think it's just like one of those moments where I'm almost like a puffer fish, right? Like I'm real thin. It inhales, and then there's this like jab as I use the harpoon inside its like gill structure or whatever, and then I whip out that meteor hammer and just like lay into whatever organ I know is gonna like wreck it the most. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I love it. So I think we see you doing that, and then the camera zooms out to the perspective of the crew on the boat, and you just see almost like boiling water and bubbles going everywhere, and suddenly a tentacle is going somewhere, and like you see this almost like see-through jelly goop just start spreading over the water, and then the squid body starts sinking. So Arash, you have completely wrecked it from the inside. You are also...
I didn't have to roll. That's amazing.
No. However, you're kind of tangled up in this heavy, goopy squid that is sinking towards the bottom of the ocean. What do you do now?
I think I'm gonna just cut my way out, and preferably with what?
Josh, I have a horrible idea.
Yeah, hit me.
So this thing has armored skin. Cutting your way out is probably going to work until you get to the exterior. It's really hard. But even as this thing's dying, like if you can trigger like the vomit response in it, you can probably get it to puke you back out.
Awesome. That sounds like
from the inside.
That sounds like an absolutely like an Arash plan. I think me plus some organ is going to be coming out of it. Yeah, like I think it's one of those things, right? Like I feel the water shift and I feel it start sinking, and I don't know, I clutch onto something and I like cut and jab, and like ink and stuff spreads on its inside, hopefully making it vomit because it's not supposed to be outside of its ink sac.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe one of its like whatever goop lights up real bright. I hit something and there's like an explosion of light as it like ruptures. So yeah, there's probably gonna be flashes of light, me floating to the surface. Hopefully, that's the plan. We'll see how.
Right.
I'm sure this can't go wrong.
No.
Yeah.
What action do you feel like you're sort of?
I don't have any. Maybe skirmish if I'm cutting my way out. That's the closest I can get. I don't think there's an action for escape squid. Maybe prowl because it's physical. I don't know.
I think skirmish would make sense.
I think
All right,
you could also make an argument for like survey or study to like figure out just where to hit it or something like that.
I am pretty good at study, and I do know a lot about monsters, but I'm gonna go with skirmish because it's my good stat, and I'm gonna push myself.
Sounds good.
All right, let's see. How that...
Hopefully, the dice will be kind. We'll see. All right, mark 2 stress. Let's do this. Now I'm clicking advantage correctly.
Yes.
It's a 9.
It's good enough, right?
Yeah, you hit the right thing where the lights sort of just like light up. And there's this sort of rush of water as it just vomits you up. And I think what it is you go sailing out and land hard on the deck.
Awesome.
So I think you're going to take a little bit of harm from that, unless you want to try and do some fancy rolling.
How do resist work here? I'm going to roll prowess, and it's 6 minus, what is it? Do we do top die again?
Yes.
I get 2 dice in prowess. What kind of harm are we looking at here?
So how harm works in this is you just get harm in a certain attribute, and the first time it's just -1 for all those actions until you recover. And then if you get another like prowess harm, then it's -2 and then -3. So you kind of just fill it up with escalating penalties.
That's kind of terrifying. Let's not do that. I'm going to resist.
Nice.
I take 1 stress.
Yeah. So you want to describe your like descent and fancy roll as you land directly on the deck?
Is it cool if I land on the water?
Yeah.
I mean, I could still like pop out and could have potentially been harmed, but I think I pop out and I land on the water, and I do this thing where I like take out something and put it in my hand, and some of that blackness comes off of it, and I actually stick it under the water, and I pull out whatever I brought with me as my trophy from this horrible squid, and then I just like wave at the captain because I know that my captain is just like, Arash. So, but yes, I'm gonna start jogging towards the boat on the water.
You're supposed to ask me before you get eaten by things.
Right, sorry, Captain. But yeah,
And then I spin around and I'm to the person who's going to fire the captain that got told not to by Pari, and I'm like, and you don't feel like taking orders today? And I'm like, and now we just have a spare cannon. This is loaded and ready. Who should we fire it at?
I think for poetic purposes, it's got to be aimed right at Arash right now. Like it's Arash is running, like the cannon's just got to be pointed right at him.
I'm like, do you know what they do in the? Do you know what they do in the navies when people don't take orders?
And Pari's standing right over him. Are you chewing her out, or are you chewing him out?
I'm chewing the guy out because she's specifically like chewing the guy out to make Pari like see if Pari's gonna step up and like take responsibility for having said no.
Yeah.
I think when you ask that, he like looks back at Pari and then looks back at you, and he's like, something bad?
I'm like, they're not allowed to kill whole people, so they use a whip.
And Pari sort of steps in between, steps up a little bit in front. He's like, but we're better than that. We know that those are the bad guys. Those are the people we're trying to. Those are the people that don't deserve the power that they wield.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's true. Unfortunately, I'm not sure we have space on the ship for anyone who can't follow orders.
Yeah, so I think this is definitely not about him. It's about Pari and Arash. Are you looking for?
I don't know that you knew. Like, I have no idea about your weird mystical bullshit, right? Like I know that you are a weird mystical person.
Yeah,
but
right.
You're gonna have to at least say something about it, and I'm going to be like, yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So I think this is Pari then trying to convince you that what she was doing was the right thing. And she says, I haven't survived, and she sort of pulls the like she sort of hunches forward, and she suddenly looks, a lot more her age, where she was standing up a little straighter before a second ago. She's like, I haven't lived as many years as I have by not knowing a few things. Every once in a while, you have to stay your hand. And she sort of looks at Arash as he's like running. It's like, else our friend wouldn't have made it. Else this cannon would have found its way right to our friend.
I'm like, yeah, I think I like look at you, and like I'm like, and I'm like. So it was our friend, and like she then turns to Arash and she's like, "Our friend got the ship covered in whatever the hell this goop is."
Well, yeah, that I can't help with.
I'm like, at least we know who's cleaning it up.
And imagine this is right as Arash is arriving, right? He's.
And I think I just like I wander back down below deck, and I'm like. This had better be spotless by morning.
I think Arash doesn't feel bad for monster hunting. But I think Arash feels bad that somebody on the crew got in trouble for his monster hunting. So I think that if there is like a late shift, there's a good chance that Arash is helping our. Can we have a name for our good-hearted but not necessarily good captain diplomat pirate?
Yes, let me.
The name of the guy who didn't just shoot and blow you up.
His name is Marco.
So from Vita's perspective, an order wasn't followed, so someone has to do something to like
to make amends for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's basically said that like whoever's responsible is going to be the person who's responsible for getting the ship clean.
I think I understand, and I do not blame you at all, but I feel I don't know that I completely volunteer, but I definitely help. Right? Like I think Arash is just like, I'm sorry I got you in trouble kind of stuff, and is like, we're a crew, we do things together, I'll help.
And that might be where sort of we cut the scene as you helping him out with the goop and trying to clean it off the deck.
Yeah. Someone in chat is like, maybe no lashes, but this deck isn't going to swab itself. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So Cass, is there anything that is perhaps valuable that one can salvage from a terrifying bloody maw?
Yeah, especially if you're helping clean up. I think
vomited all this stuff, right? Maybe.
Yeah. So the bloody maw has the goop actually does something, and it encases and forms like a bubble seal around things. So you might notice that when you're cleaning, that like some of it tries to like gloop up around your sort of sponge-like cloth that you're using, and you start noticing that it seems to have this like tendency to just like seal up around things.
That's how it makes the armor.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I'm a barrel some of that stuff for the futures, but also hopefully the chunk of squid that I brought back will make for good eatings. All right, excellent.
Yes. I think the chef comes up to you and like just holds out a hand, expecting like maybe you've done this before.
Yes, this is standard. There are certain monsters that I'm just like, sorry, Cookie, we can't eat that thing. It's gonna kill all of us. But for this thing, I'm just like, aye lads, we had good tonight. You know.
Excellent. All right, so the rest of the sea journey is, as far as the wildlife concerned, rather calm. I don't know how the crew kind of settles down after that, a little bit of that tension between everybody. And you reach, if you, I'm just gonna move the ship. I think yeah. So you all have reached your position to be ready to attack the ship with the gems that you want.
Cool. I think we are right at about the next hour. So do we want to take our next break now and then jump into the score, as it were?
Sounds good.
Looks to me.
All right, cool. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us as we face the bloody maw. We'll be back soon. Do some good old-fashioned stealing stuff.
Damn straight.